Well, this is Eric Rollins, the constitutionalist. It's still a mouthful after all these years, but an important mouthful. I think I'm going to have an interesting show today. I've got somebody coming to the show trying to make a difference. That's one of my goals. I have people that are trying to make a difference, move this state in a direction of common sense. And for me, that's not a Democrat. It's not always a Republican, but at least there's a real odds with a Republican having common sense. I am joined by Jim Polsgrove, Assembly District 31 candidate. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, glad to. So, Jim, clearly you've lost your mind because you're running for a political office.
I'm going for the insanity plea.
Yeah.
But I do want to stop before we go any further because you mentioned something that's very important to me, and that's bringing common sense back to California. The one thing in my campaign that I have tried to do is emphasize that is the most important thing that we need to do in California is bring common sense back to California. We bring common sense back, it's going to solve so many problems right from the get-go.
Agreed. So why in the world would you do this?
I've been in public service all my life. For the past 39 years, I've worked at the Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District, 31 years with the city of Fresno, and the last 5 years I spent with the county of Fresno. 31 years with the city of Fresno. I was in various positions in public works. I built the first water model for the city of Fresno, maintained it until I transferred to right-of-way and special districts. When I oversaw right-of-way and special districts, I oversaw a number of programs. I've been the one out there formulating solutions to problems for my entire career. And I want to take that experience of solving problems. I want to take that to Sacramento, and I want to solve the problems that have been brought before the citizens.
So basically, you're bringing insider knowledge. If anybody's been to like a city council meeting, a board of supervisors meeting, they always have city experts, the inside knowledge that actually know how to run some aspect of government. Rarely does anybody completely get every aspect, but you're the person that comes in as the expert. That was basically your job, to advise whichever was the appropriate, whether it was city of Fresno or county of Fresno. Well, that a fair way to look at that?
It is very fair. Eric, you've probably seen, I know you go to a number of different council meetings throughout the valley here. And the one thing that you'll notice on council reports, there's always one section in the council reports that's staff recommendations. I was the one making the staff recommendations. So, I mean, I was the one that formulated the problem and told the councils what they needed to do in order to resolve the issue and problems. I spoke in front of the council. At one time, I was in front of the council almost on a weekly basis.
Meetings are long and boring, but thank goodness somebody's doing it. And I go to a lot of them. They are often boring. But if you go with a friend and you can discuss it afterwards, it kind of almost becomes like a book club. You know what I mean? And I've developed some relationships with people that regularly go to particularly Clovis City Council. And then we have a discussion as to what's happening here. And it really gives it a different feel. Everybody thinks, oh, it's so awful. I would encourage people to bring a kid, even if you can't come for a long meeting, bring your kid for half an hour. Get up and speak during that open, usually at the beginning of the meeting, even if it is just talk about some issue in your town.
Well, the main thing, and I agree with you 100% there. The kids of today, the youth of today, need to know how government functions. They need the experience. They need something to be triggered in them to where they will go and research how things get done. Because there are so many of our youth out there have no idea how things work.
Well, that is true, that we don't know how things work. Government is difficult in that they use a lot of acronyms. And those acronyms, if you don't know what they stand for, you're going through a meeting, you're like, well, wait a minute. What is it they just said? It all means something, but it's not clear until you spend some time and you do some research. So it's almost like if you wanted to read a legal brief, until you understood the legal language, you're not quite sure what's going on. So there is a little bit of a learning curve.
There's a huge learning curve. I mean, there's the technical side of it. There's the psychological side of it. Normally, councilmen, supervisors, I'm not saying in all cases, don't get elected on their technical abilities.
That's fair.
And
I know an awful lot of them, and very few of them have a background in some aspect of government.
Some
do, but
and believe me, in my 31 years with the city and spending much time in front of the city council, I've worked with both sides of that fence. And it can be very frustrating when somebody that really doesn't have the experience and won't listen to the people that have the experience, they ignore it.
Your district, at least the larger bulk of it, not the population part of it, is all agriculture.
For the most part.
I would say most of the big jobs are agriculture. Is that fair? The big employers?
Yeah, in my area, the big employers in my area are ag related. Okay. We've got everything from large farming operations, farm labor contractors, packing houses, things of that nature, and they employ a lot of people in the valley.
So there's some problems with agriculture.
There's some major problems.
Where you want to start with that?
I've already started reaching out to a lot of the ag related industries, the American pistachio growers, fresh fruit growers, the Farm Bureau. And one of the common themes that I seem to get back is that, and I made the assumption right out of the gate that it was going to be water. Water is really not one of the major number one issues. What it has to do with are the regulations that govern the production of agriculture in the state of California. None of them, the common theme is that they don't make sense. And this gets back to my theme of let's bring common sense back.
So obviously water is a big deal, but you're saying regulation is what you're hearing more.
I'm hearing a lot about, and I mean, a lot of it has to do with regulations regarding water. And you've got regulations regarding water. This type of water can be used this way and can't be used another way. And
so by type of, you mean whether it's pumped out of the ground, it's irrigation. And then there's even some rules about what falls from the sky.
It's all, and the bad part about it, it's all treated differently. Yeah. Runoff water is treated differently than groundwater, which is treated differently than this water,
And now with the new idea of we should be recycling water, I bet that's going to be treated a fourth way.
Oh, it is. It already is.
So if you were an assemblyman, who would be your allies to try to fix some of those problems?
Well, as I said, I've already reached out to a number of farmer or agriculture-related industries and co-op. I'm not sure what you call them, just groups that support various types of agriculture. And I've already asked them if they would be willing to put together think tanks of the various agriculture involved industries so that we could come up with solutions, common sense solutions to the problems to make it easier for ag. I mean, the state of California was built on agriculture, and Sacramento has ignored agriculture for many years.
I think it's worse than that. I think they want to get rid of all small farmers so they only have big corporations which they can control.
Oh, yeah.
And they want a whole bunch of our San Joaquin Valley land, that's that center of California. They want it fallow. They want it returned to the wild. We've got the most productive farmland.
Not only that, I mean, you see so many acres out here that they want to put into solar farms. Mm-hmm. And the solar farms, they're not as positive in the overall state as you would think.
Well, they sterilize the soil and they kill everything that flies over. I mean, it's bad news. Putting them out in the desert is less of a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Putting them on prime agricultural land is kind of insane.
And the state of California feeds the world.
We're either number 1, number 2, or number 3, depending on the year, as far as the most productive county in California for agriculture. Most of the time we're 1 or 2.
Right.
Sometimes we lose to Tulare County. And we also send out to the world all kinds of produce. Most of the produce that feeds the United States comes from here. Yet we're not fixing this problem. You know that agriculture, the way it runs, you work like crazy for months, and then there's not much to do, which means you have a bunch of overtime, but they've now got a bunch of regulations about how long somebody can work. And they're making it really hard for a lot of the farmers to do things like get their crops picked. Any ideas on how to fix that?
Well, there's an old saying, you bale hay when the sun shines. And, you've got to get out and do it when it's proper. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was raised on a small 10-acre ranch out between Kerman and Easton. I mean, I've got up at midnight and gone out and changed irrigation water. So I know a little bit about what's involved in this. And people just don't understand. They don't realize where their beef comes from. They don't realize where their flour comes from. They don't realize where their chickens come from. They come from the grocery store.
Yeah, that's all there is, right?
And they just don't understand that there's a farmer out there getting up before the crack of dawn to feed these animals and keep them healthy and to put them in that grocery store so that they can eat every day. Mm-hmm. And
with no guarantee that they're going to make a profit.
Oh, yeah, there's no guarantees.
So I see it as a whole lot of farmers are doing it because they love it. It's a way of life. Not necessarily, it's nice if they make a profit, but no guarantees. And now we've piled on all of this legislation and shorted them on water. It's like we're trying to have them fail. But they're not wasting water. They're growing food, which is essential.
Well, they put regulations into play that really complicate the situation. Years ago, you used to flood irrigate. We had pasture land, and we'd flood irrigate the pasture land. Now you can't do that.
And there's a big problem, and I want you to make sure you tell people what that problem that goes with that lack of flood irrigation.
Well, and I think I'm going to get there if I read your mind right. So what happens is they go to drip irrigation, sprinklers, and so on and so forth. First of all, when you're the root system of a plant follows the water. If you flood irrigate, it gets deeper. The roots get deeper. You got healthier plants. If not, the roots stay up toward the top of the ground, so you don't have as healthy vegetation.
Right.
But most of all, through flood irrigation, that percolates back into the ground and recharges the groundwater system, recharges the aquifer.
Not this year, it was last year, but we had a few really big storms. And we've got such a screwed up way of viewing water that there were water districts that had so much water they didn't know what to do with it. But they wouldn't let farmers that were along the lines of the canals they were afraid were going to go over the banks. They wouldn't let them flood their fields without charging them. Mm-hmm. Now, how crazy is that? You got more water, you don't know what to do with it, but we got to charge you because that's our regulations. Where's the common sense in that? The farmer was offering a solution.
Again, that word common sense comes to play.
Yeah.
It all boils down, regulations and the confusion in the regulations and also the common sense in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We need regulations that make sense. We need regulations that support agriculture. And we need, most of all, common sense in all of that.
That seems to have gone since at least 2012 here in California.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I picked that date was the point where the supermajority in both houses happened. Mm-hmm. There was a supermajority in one of them before that, but if you have entirely one party rule, the old saying is, absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, there's where we're at, folks. We need to look at it differently.
California proves that. Mm-hmm. They have not thought about the big picture. Yes, they've got their pet projects, and I'm not going to say a lot of the pet projects don't make sense, but they're not viable.
Wait, but that train's going to work.
I said most. Let's take electric cars. Electric cars aren't a bad idea, but the state of California does not have the infrastructure, and to mandate that it was 2035 that we weren't going to be able to have gas cars.
Okay. Right. And that was for everybody. And then government, it was 2030.
Okay. And the bottom line boils down to we still have brownouts in certain areas of California now. And if we can't supply the energy necessary for today, what's going to happen when we increase it by all driving electric vehicles?
Well, there's one of the problems. The other problem is an electric vehicle. I just went through this with Clovis City Council, and they're looking at buses, and they're being forced to buy electric buses. The problem with electric buses is they only last for about 6 hours, and they need those buses to run for 8 or 10, which means not only do they have to pay about 60% more for the bus, but they've now got to have a second bus to continue the service. And this is all the wisdom of Sacramento. They're doing the same thing with agriculture, saying, hey, look, you guys need to have tractor trailers, basically big rigs that are electric, and you need to have tractors out in your fields. But a lot of those diesel tractors, that farmer will sit in that tractor for 12 or 15 hours sometimes if it's a key time.
And how are you going to charge that in the field?
I'm happy to be here.
Well, you're probably going to have to get a diesel generator, pull it out there so that you can recharge, and you're going to need a second tractor. Does that make a lot of sense?
Or you're going to shut down production for however many hours it takes to recharge that tractor.
Right, but you can't a lot of times shut down production. If you looked at cherries, you got a very short window. You got to move. If it's time to bale your alfalfa, now's time. If you want to get 3 cuttings or 4, whatever your number is, how productive your land is, but it's more than 2.
Oh yeah.
And maybe as many as 5. But you got a key window, or you're not going to have enough time to regenerate to get your 5 cuttings.
Oh yeah.
Agriculture is about timelines, and the crop or the animal determines the timeline, not anything to do with Sacramento.
The one thing I want to point out, Eric, is I don't know everything about agriculture. I'll admit it. But this is why I've been reaching out to various agriculture-related industries and people, experts in the field.
So you're developing a team.
I'm developing a team. And if you look at what goes on in Sacramento today with the supermajority that you referred to, who do they talk to for advice?
Other politicians and environmentalists and the teachers union and the LGBTQ movement. Those are the...
And what do they know about what happens when you've got raisins out on the ground and you've got rain clouds in the sky?
You got to roll them suckers up and move. Yeah.
And everything else goes out the window when that comes. And that can be a make or break year. Just the bad timing of a weather can be a make or break year for what goes on.
Yeah. Well, that is just crazy. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears because agriculture is not the only thing in your district.
Oh, no.
We're going to start kind of related to agriculture. There's all kinds of crime problems that have to do with not just agriculture, but petty theft that costs the farmers millions, cost us all millions. You worked in government. What if somebody stole the copper wire out of a streetlight?
Well, they may get $100 worth of copper wire, but they do $10,000 worth of damage.
Same thing if they reach out and they steal the wiring off of a pump for a farmer. If you're elected to the assembly, What kind of legislation is needed to deal with that?
Well, the one thing regarding crime, the one major problem in Sacramento is that the politicians in Sacramento have continuously lessened the penalties on crime.
So there's no accountability.
There's no accountability. There's no consequences for illegal actions. You see it every day. Well, let's say the drug dealers. Mm-hmm. Somebody's pushing fentanyl. Anybody here or listening to this, I don't think anybody can tell me they have not seen a billboard or an advertisement on TV or radio that says that fentanyl kills.
Mm-hmm.
So why are not fentanyl dealers charged with at least second-degree murder when one of their clients dies?
That is absolutely a real point.
Why, when a group of people get together and go into a mall and ransack the mall, break the display cases and steal, say $1,000 a piece, so it won't be felony. $950.
Yeah.
So it won't be a felony. Why are they not charged under the RICO Act? This is organized crime. You get 10 people that organize to go in and do this. Why aren't they being charged with a more severe crime?
Well, the answer is because they don't want to, because the Democrats are in full control here in California. You really can't blame the Republicans for much of anything, except they have not often had an effective communication answer. We've now got some people like local Assemblyman Davy Tonkapaw, who's doing a phenomenal job. We've had Shannon Grove for several years, but largely I think the Republicans have been ineffective, but it's not entirely their fault because we keep voting the same way.
Well, it's not just that. We need to get Republicans out to vote. I'm gonna switch gears here for a minute.
I'm good with that.
In the special election that we just had, we had roughly 25% of registered Republicans have voted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, historically, this upcoming election in June, the primary that I'll be in midterm elections, we've had less than 30% turnout. We need to get every Republican, every conservative,
how about every common sense?
That's what I was just getting ready. Every common sense individual to vote. Now we complain about mail-in votes. We complain about this, about the voting. But the bottom line is that's made it easier for us. There's no excuse for a Republican, a conservative-minded person to not vote.
Mm-hmm. And the people that say, well, it won't do any good and they cheat anyway. I want to point out that one of the most hated Republicans, this used to be part of his district, Devin Nunes, and he was their number one target to take down for a lot of years, and yet he kept being reelected. So we could overcome if we show up in numbers.
And see, here's the bottom line to that. There are 80 assemblymen in Sacramento. Republicans represent, and I'm not sure the exact number, about 20 are Republicans. There's 40 state senators, and about 10 are Republicans. That's about 25% representation in a state that, if you look at the map it does not represent the people,
right,
or the area that we represent. So we've got the San Franciscos, the L.A.
But they only vote in some districts. How come we're not winning those more conservative districts?
We should be.
Absolutely.
But we've got to get out and vote. And for the people that say your vote doesn't count, congressional district, 13 is Adam Gray, right?
Yes.
That was won in the last election by 186 votes.
Something like that. 2 elections, both between Adam Gray and John Duarte. Less than 500 votes decided both of those congressional elections.
So your vote does count. You just have to take the time to sit down at the dinner table, check that box for the Republican vote that you think is going to do the best job for you, and mail it in, drop it off.
Or if you don't believe and you want to vote in person, that's still an option.
Yeah, you can still vote in person.
In Fresno County, we had 11-day, and then we had some that were as few as 3 days. But there were plenty of options. Sadly, 25% compared to some off-year elections is not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we don't need to do dramatically better.
But let me ask you a question, Eric. If we've got 25% turnout, if we had 50% Republican turnout, how much difference could we make?
In this county, we would win most things.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not everything, but most things.
If you look at the majority of California, running up and down the state, Sacramento's kind of marginal, that geographic area.
Right.
I'm not talking about political, that geographic area.
No, we can say political too.
But that's kind of on the edge up there. But if you look at the balance of the state, it's basically in the presidential election, it voted red.
Mm-hmm. About 75% of it or so.
Okay. And just because we don't have the numbers that San Francisco, LA has, that does not mean that we can't work hard to send a strong message out to Sacramento and to the Democrats that we are here, we want what we want.
Well, we should be, if we were winning where we should, we'd be about 40% of the state.
Right.
40% of the assemblymen or state senators, because those areas are conservative, yet we're not winning a lot of them.
And at that point, the supermajority goes away.
Right. There's something that's going to be on the ballot. It has not quite qualified yet. It is about voter ID. What do you think of that?
If I get on an airplane, I need an ID. If I buy cigarettes, booze, a gun, I need an ID. Why shouldn't I need an ID to do one of the most important things in the United States, and that's to vote for my representation?
But they're going to say because it's racist.
Well,
and which I think is insulting to any of my friends that are of a different race than me, because all of them I know, they have no problem getting ID.
Why?
My producer, I haven't checked his ID lately, but I'm pretty sure he's got one.
Well, does that mean that I don't need an ID when I go buy a firearm? Is it racist for me to have to show my ID when I buy a firearm?
Well, they'd be like, well, wait a minute there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a double standard.
Yeah. Is it racist when a 16-year-old wants to go buy a bottle of booze?
No. No, you're totally right. I'm just trying to point out the argument that they make. And people need to realize how ridiculous it is.
I do not see, and nobody has been able to explain to me how asking for an ID is racist. People have tried and said, well, it's because minorities can't get an ID. I don't know a single minority that I've ever run into, I don't care what socioeconomic position you are in life, that cannot get an ID.
I've even, in some cases, dealt with, over my career, some people that were drug addicted, really making bad choices constantly, and they still had an ID.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think that's a point of hope, and that we need, if you have not signed Carl DeMaio's voter ID initiative, I think we need to, because everybody should want free and fair elections, right? We have to defend, I'm going to put in air quotes, our democracy, though I get it, it's a republic. A safe community allows for economic prosperity. What would you do about economic prosperity? What do we need to develop in this area? Where do you see opportunities where you could help as an assemblyman?
Well, the one thing that I would do first is I would ask for audits of a number of funds. We have some of the highest taxes, gas taxes, income tax, automobile licensing fees in the country. where a relative of mine lives in Idaho. They've got a newer truck up there, and they're paying $75 for 2 years for registration, and I'm paying $500 for a 5-year-old truck in California per year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just doesn't make sense. Where's the nexus of why they need to do that? Why is gas $1 to $1.20 a gallon more expensive in California than any place else?
75% of it, or 75 cents or so, is going directly to our state, which is higher than almost every other state.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's regulations. And then we've got a special blend, and that special blend costs more to produce. And they're doing everything they can through regulation to run out the producers and then calling them evil.
Oh, yeah. How many producers of gasoline in California are leaving the state?
There's 2 that we're talking about leaving, and I don't know what finally happened. I haven't got an update in a few weeks, but they were both two major ones were talking about leaving. And our solution is that we import it from the rest of the world, where if we're concerned about the environment, they're not as clean, we lose the jobs, and we don't count those carbon credits. To my friends on the left, it's all about carbon, right? If it comes from Saudi Arabia, the oil's dirtier, and we don't count anything to do with how much it took to get it from Saudi Arabia to 12 miles of our coast, and then they start counting the carbon from 12 miles out.
And
That's insane.
And you hit the nail on the head. You know, I believe in environmental protections. I mean, I'm not completely against them. I've been an outdoorsman basically all my life. As I get older, I don't go out camping as much as I used to, but I enjoy the outdoors. If I don't maintain and protect the outdoors, I won't be able to go up and utilize it and enjoy it the way. Okay, so in California, we have, like you said, some of the strongest environmental protections in the oil industry of any place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But these environmentalists want us to get it from, like you say, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ukraine, wherever it is, that have no protections.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the impact isn't to just their country. The impact is to the globe.
Mm-hmm.
So why are they against not utilizing oil that's protecting the environment?
And we get good paying jobs along the way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's the definition of insanity. Another major issue in California, homelessness. It makes people feel unsafe. It's not sanitary. In major cities, they're having things like resurgence of the bubonic plague. You know, the Black Plague that they had in the Middle Ages?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's that unsanitary in parts of L.A. Any ideas on how we tackle that one?
Completely throw out what they're doing right now.
So what they're doing, tell them what they're doing now and then go.
What they're doing now has been a complete failure because they have not analyzed homelessness as a whole. The millions and millions of dollars that they're spending is going to put a house over a person's head.
So housing first.
Housing first. But at that same time, they're not doing anything that why homelessness is being created in this country. I mean, not just California, but all over. There are other issues, but the major factors in homelessness are drugs, alcohol, and mental illness. I mean, I love analogies, Eric, and we've talked about this. The homeless problem, the way they're addressing the homeless problem right now, it's like you've got a pool in your backyard that you've neglected. It's green. You got to pump it out to clean it. But you're pumping it out with a 1-inch hose, and you've got a 3-inch hose pumping green water back into it. You are never going to solve the problem. In spite of the millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on homelessness, the homeless population has continued to increase because they're ignoring the problem.
Well, there's no accountability. They make life fairly easy for them. and there's no attempting to really force them to get into treatment programs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, whether it's an alcoholic, drug addict, or whatever, everybody knows from history and dealing with people, whether it's your family or whatnot, that no matter what you do, you cannot fix the problem yourself. Until that person is ready to accept what's going on and fix the problem themselves, there's nothing you can do. But another analogy, people are like water. They will follow the path of least resistance.
Most of them.
Most of them. So if you've got a person and you're giving them this and giving them that and not having them responsible to change their situation, they're going to continue that same situation, whether it's alcohol, drugs, crime, or whatnot, living in an alley, living out,
it's like generational welfare, except that now it's outside.
Now it's outside. And, I'm surprised more people aren't really disturbed about this. I live in southeast Fresno in a nice neighborhood, and the neighbor right behind me, I mean, if you look at your house, there's always one side of a house that's kind of a dead side. There's no gate, kind of gets a storage of wood and whatnot. And he started hearing some noise in this side that he never went to. He never goes back there. He goes back there one day because he'd heard some noise. A homeless man had set up a settlement right there and living in his side yard.
Yeah.
And why do you think we see so many fires in these vacant houses?
In Fresno County last year, it was more than 1,000 fires. Most of them are relatively minor fires, but more than 1,000 fires directly caused from homeless. I have some inside information on that one.
Thank you for the numbers. But we've got to address the initial problem in homelessness before we can address putting a roof over their head.
Now, I've mostly directed this, and we're running out of time. Is there some issue that is speaking to you that you feel you have solutions for and you want to talk about? And then we got to make sure before we run out of time, because we're down to 7 minutes, how, if they like you, what's your campaign information? So,
well, first of all, you can go to my website. It's Polsgrove 4, California, but California is abbreviated CALIF .com. Okay. My email is the same, paulsgroveforcalifornia@gmail.com. And then I've got the same address on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can go to those. Unfortunately, and this is the part that I stumble at every time, is campaigns run on money. Mm-hmm. My first fundraiser is going to be the 17th, and it will...
That's a Wednesday?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday. And I'm scrambling here to try to find what I did. I didn't bring one with me. Anyway, if you go to my website, or not, it's not on the website yet. It'll be on the website later today. But if you go to one of my social media, you can scroll down and look, and you'll see. It's going to be the 17th from like 4 to 7 at the Blossom Barn out on Elm Avenue. Can't remember the address, but it's out at like near Elm and Nebraska. This is being put on by a farm labor contractor who's supporting. And the fee to get in is going to be $150.
But I assume they get some good food with that.
I don't know. He's handling all the food. So,
Okay.
being a farm labor contractor, I would assume the food's going to be pretty good.
Well, if nothing else, it might be tacos.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of tacos.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I have another engagement that night, and I have to work during the day, so there's no way I can even sneak out for a minute. But folks,
I can completely understand. Because here's the thing: this time of year, with everybody's campaigns really taking off, everybody's got things going on the same time.
See, mine's a Christmas party, not even something political.
Oh,
but I committed before I knew about
but,
yours.
But you got to have a personal life too.
I'd be more sane if I did. How's that?
I think we'd all be more sane. Anyway, you can contribute there. You can contribute on my website. There's a way that you can contribute. And, you don't have to do the $5,000, $5,900 maximum. The $10 donations add up. Those are the ones that I'd really prefer to see, the $10 donations over the $1,000 donations.
Well, you don't owe them anything.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that if I get 100 $10 donations, that's $1,000. That's 100 people that have voted for me already, that have said that they believe in what I've told them. If I've got one person that gives me $1,000, that's one person that believes in me. I want, I'm not going to try to, BS anybody out here. I'm going to tell you the way it is, and you know me. If I tell you something, that's the way it is. I'm not going to try to, blow smoke and, unicorn dust and all this. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. I've told everybody, first of all, and we talked about this, 20 assemblymen out of 80. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go up there and guarantee that I can get things across the finish line, but I can guarantee that they're going to know that I'm there, and they're going to know that they'd better wake up and start addressing those problems.
Well, we have to keep going out and talking to people. You've done some interesting outreach. You have any stories you want to? We're down to about 2.5 minutes. Any interesting stories about people you've encountered on the campaign trail?
I've actually got some really good advisors that have been helping me, and one of them advised me to go out and talk to some of the businesses, which I did. Started in Orange Cove, a little farming community on the east side of the county here. I went to one city council meeting, spent one afternoon talking to businesses, went back to the city council meeting, and in that little bit of time, I was able to, somebody called me to the side and said, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it because your name is buzzing. But the one thing that really impressed me is I went into the very first business I went into. They told me, hey, one thing they taught us in school was don't talk politics in the shop. Hour and a half later, I walked out of there with them thanking me for coming by and saying that I was the first candidate that had ever walked through their threshold and asked them, not told them what I was going to do, but asked them what they needed.
So you listened.
I listened.
I think that's one of the places where Republicans have fallen down. That we don't go out and we don't listen.
Well, not just, Democrats especially, but even a lot of Republicans have forgotten what the job is. The job is to represent the people.
A servant.
And if you don't represent the people, you're not doing your job.
Why are you hopeful?
Because I can make a difference. And I love California. I mean, except for the Democratic rule in California, you can't ask for a better place to live. From where we're sitting right here, Eric, you're 2 hours from the coast. You're an hour from the mountains. You don't have hurricanes and tornadoes that pick your house up and move it to a different area code. What more could you ask for? The United States is the land of opportunity. But historically, up until the past few years, California has been the land of opportunity within the land of opportunity.
But that can be fixed.
I want that back.
Amen, brother. Well, I thank you for this time. Polsgrove for California, CALIF.
CAL and number 4. That's on my website, my email, Gmail, and then my Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Well, thank you for this time. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist. We'll see you next week, folks. Merry Christmas. so vicious.
I was looking at 45 minutes going, God, how can we talk for 45 minutes? And man, it was boom, over.
I've had an awful lot of people
And let
tell
me,
me that.
I dropped
Well,
some
because I
stuff.
just keep asking questions, and all you got to do is, I'll keep it flowing.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people worry about it. I worried about the first time I did 50 minutes on my own.